Hi, this is Richard Azerga from Microsoft, and if you're watching this video, you've hopefully made it through exercises 1, 2, and 3 of the Salesforce Office Add-in Workshop. This video is all about taking the solution you made in the first two exercises and going further. And so the great solution you built was this Office add-in that connected to the Salesforce APIs, pulled in opportunity data, and displayed that inside of your Excel workbook. Where we're going to go further is, say you wanted to be able to identify cells that you've changed in that workbook, and then be able to maybe even write that back later on back into Salesforce as updates. So what we're going to do is make a few changes so that we can see when a cell changes, when you change this data in one of these cells. So it's going to be a few small modifications that we make to our add-in. So first of all, I'm going to scroll down to where we actually write the data into Excel. So it was using the set selected data async function. And that hasn't changed at all, but as soon as we set the data, after providing a success message, we're going to bind to that table. So we're going to create a binding. So you can see here I'm saying office.context.document. And then on bindings, I'm adding from a selection async. So as soon as I add the table, it also selects the table so I can immediately add a binding based on selection. When that finishes, I want to also add an event handler so that when any data changes in that table, I'm notified by it. So that's what you see here is I'm adding this binding, and then when it's successful, I'm saying go add a binding changed handler. So that's going to tell me when data changes. So let's go take a look at that up here at the top of our script file. So here's our add binding handler. And what it's going to do is it's first going to go and get our binding. So it's going to go and get the binding based upon the ID that we specified. In this case, we just called it opportunities table. And then once I get it, I'm going to add a handler async. And the type of handler, the type of event is a binding data changed event. So this is going to get raised. It's basically, Excel is going to tell us anytime any data in our binding changes. When it does, I'm just going to go and reformat our table to highlight the rows, or actually the individual cells that were changed. So let's take a look at this running. I've provided a link to the completed solution so you can kind of take a look at it and see how you might be able to put this together on your own. But let's go ahead and play our project. So we'll go ahead and launch this add-in. Now, because in this case we need to edit Excel, the first thing I'm actually going to do in this add-in is go ahead and edit the workbook, put it into edit mode. So I'm going to go ahead and say edit this Excel in Excel Online. And so now I should be able to go and insert some data. So let's just go and select some data. I'll just select some different stage types, and I'll go ahead and say export to Excel. We should see our Salesforce prompt. I'll go ahead and sign in here. As soon as it finishes that sign in, it'll close the dialog, query data, and insert it into our workbook. But here's where this new add-in differs, is now we're going to listen for any changes to the data. Anytime the data changes, we're actually going to, or Excel is going to notify our add-in so that we can highlight that cell. So let me give you an example here. I will change this column here. Let me change Edge Communications to Edge Communication Hello World, or just hello. So as soon as I press enter, it's going to raise that event, and you can see it went and highlighted our cell yellow because we changed it. And our add-in is actually what did that. So our add-in, again, it's being notified anytime one of these cells change. So I'll change another one here. This is really great if I wanted to go and maybe change the probability, maybe move it forward to a new a new stage because maybe it's progressed, the opportunity. I'll change this one maybe from 10 to 30%. And as soon as I press enter, it'll take 1 second and then bang, it goes and updates that cell to be highlighted. So we ultimately, our add-in knows every single cell that changed. And if I wanted to, we could actually put a button in our add-in to go and take those changes and update Salesforce. So this is a much more advanced scenario, but it shows some of the powerful things we can do with the Office add-in model.